Okay. Morning, everybody, and I'd like to open the meeting at 9:03, and thank you all for coming. Councillor Hancock,
I'd like to move that apologies be received and a leave of absence granted for Councillor O'Neill.
have a second to Councillor Brumpton. All those in favour? 8-0. Before considering the minutes, I would like to move a motion of condolence for a former employee, Eric John Tucker, who sadly passed away on the weekend. Eric worked for council for over 23 years on the Parks and Gardens team in Roma. He will be remembered for his reliability, incredible work ethic, and always putting the community at the front of his mind every day. Eric was someone who led his team by creating a great team environment and will always bring a smile to their faces with his sharp sense of humour. On behalf of council, I would like to thank Eric for his contribution to the council and the broader community. He will be sadly missed. If I could have someone move the minutes of the last meeting. Councillor Vincent.
Just a question. So you moved that motion of condolence, Mayor?
Yeah, I have to have a second.
CEO, do we have to have a seconder with the motion of condolence?
Just recognition there.
I didn't think you had to do anything.
It's just normally just acknowledgement. So
Well, we can?
No, I was just checking. Right, yeah.
it's not a resolution. So.
Yeah.
Okay. Councillor Vincent.
I'd like to move that the minutes of the ordinary meeting on the 3rd of November 2024 be confirmed.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Seawright. All those in favour? 8-0.
Councillors, as I sort of said at the start there, obviously Janice is doing the minutes for us this meeting. It's her first time doing the minutes, so she's got everything
So
pretty
we're
well
going to
prepared
take it
there.
slow and steady.
Thank you very much.
All right. We're going on to 8.1, amendment to resolution. Do I have a mover? Councillor Davis.
I move that council amend the resolution number OM04.2024/28 and replace with that council 1 adopt the ordinary meeting schedule as proposed with the December 2024 ordinary meeting date to be amended to be held on either Tuesday the 10th of December 2024 or the 12th Thursday, December 2024, with the Mayor authorised to finalise the date based on confirmation of availability of ministers for state government deputations. 2, hold all ordinary meetings and briefings at Council's Roma Administration Centre. 3, commence all ordinary meetings at 9 a.m, subject to agreed change by Council. 4, hold councillor briefings, including agenda familiarisation segment on the day prior to each ordinary meeting, noting that after May this will generally be on the 2nd and 4th Tuesday of each month, commencing at 9:30, subject to agreed change by Council. Hold councillor briefings on the 1st and 3rd Wednesday of each month when required, commencing at 9:30. No, I don't think we're commencing at 9:30. I think.
I think we.
But it says subject to agreed by.
Okay.
Yeah, I think, don't we schedule a diary meeting?
Yeah.
9:30.
I'll change it to 8:30 and test the room.
But it's got subject to agreed.
Is that so
change,
that
I
we
think.
can have the
Diary meeting.
diary meeting
Oh, okay.
beforehand? Or are
So
we
the diary
including the
meeting-
diary?
This is just for the remaining part of this year. So we've already adopted last meeting, next year's briefing dates and council meetings. So this is basically about at the start of the year you adopted this year's ordinary meeting dates. And obviously in the schedule that was adopted at the start of the year, we've actually got one schedule for obviously Wednesday is it the 11th? But obviously there was opportunity to have a deputation in Brisbane there with the Premier and Deputy Premier and other ministers about stuff the council's pursuing. But the only day they could give us was going to clash with the council meeting date. So this is a notice of motion to amend the motion from the start of the year to actually change that December meeting date to give us
But
a
we're
bit of
talking
flexibility.
about, sorry, CEO, we're talking about times in the original resolution that we all voted on, 8-0, was commence briefings at 8:30 or 9 a.m, subject to need. So if we're repealing this then replaces that.
It replaces it, yeah. You replace it.
Well, it's not actually.
It's not going by that.
Yeah, I agree with
24.
you. You're looking at the minutes, but that's not what's in the report.
okay.
So that, I agree with you, Amber. That's exactly what you moved because I questioned it at the time and we talked about it. But that's actually not what's in the report.
What page are you?
28. 28, 29. So there is a bit of,
That was in the original.
so
Yeah,
according to the minutes, on what page, Amber?
Minutes on page 24 of 103.
Yep, so actually, CEO, the minutes don't match the original in the
That's exactly right.
report.
Page 24.
Through the chair, councillors, if you don't mind, the minutes from the previous meeting relate to the council meetings in 2025.
That's what we're saying, it's next year's meeting.
Oh,
It's
that's-
the resolution for the
That's
start of the
next
year.
minute.
Only changed
Yeah.
in
For
For
December.
Thursday, yeah.
Yeah, so this resolution amendment dates right back to your post-election meeting where
Yeah.
essentially we probably need to leave it as it is because the year's run its course. Like,
Do we, because it's very confusing, obviously, so if we're confused, I'm sure our community might be confused. Do we actually then need all that and just address that one date that we're trying to
December?
change?
Isn't this meeting only going to pertain from the 28th of November, or whatever the date today is, until the 30th of December?
yep.
Yeah.
So it's the motion is actually, the recommendation is actually right.
Because it's
Well,
amending.
Then I'm querying the original resolution.
The original resolution is not the one in the minutes from last month. It's from the start of the first meeting of council.
Yeah, 28, not 38. Yep,
Yeah.
see that now.
Yeah.
So this is just for one, just to amend that one remaining meeting of this year.
So the
Because it's already
resolution,
been actioned and we
Correct.
can't change
Yeah,
it.
we can't
Yep,
change what's
I'm
been
happy to
actioned.
continue.
and it doesn't override the resolution we made last.
No, so it's not a rescind because you've already enacted the resolution, so it's have to give you the 5 days notice to amend that previous resolution. So what you've got there is the resolution post-election. We had all your meeting dates locked in and you've gone through the year, as councillor Flynn said, and you've dealt with all of them bar this
Yep.
December meeting. We just want to
Because
be
we're
able to
changing
move
one.
that. But the big thing is probably, I'd love to be able to give you clarity whether it's the Tuesday or the Thursday. I did speak to Minister Lay last night and that we should have probably a date in the next couple of days. We're pretty confident it will be the Wednesday. We just got that flexibility there for those last 2 days.
Yep, thank you. Dot point 4, whole councillor briefings, including an agenda familiarisation segment on the day prior to each ordinary meeting, noting that after May, this will generally be on the second and fourth Tuesday of each month, commencing at 9:30, subject to agreed change by council. 5, hold councillor briefings on the first and third Wednesday of each month, when required, commencing at 9:30 a.m, subject to agreed change by council. 6, at an upcoming briefing, further discuss transitioning one of the briefing days to a planned schedule of community engagement activities across the region to commence after adoption of the 24-25 budget.
Seconded by councillor Brompton. Would you like to speak, councillor?
No, I think it's all been said in discussion. This is just to tidy up our next meeting in
briefing
December.
day.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And just on that, it is, as the CEO said, we're trying to lock in a date to go down and see the ministers while they're all fresh before Christmas so that we can plug several things, including our pool and housing and insurance and all those ones that we can actually get into, which, as Rob said, Anne Lay's been trying to help us with to set that up. So, so don't mean to change it, but if it means we'll get some ears in Brisbane, that's what we're going to do. So thank you for that. Anybody else like to speak? Let's go to the vote. All those in favour? 8-0. 11.1, Sundry Debt Recovery Policy Review. Morning. Does anybody have any questions? All the team?
Was there any
Councillor Davis.
changes?
No, there wasn't.
No changes.
That was my question as well.
Sorry,
That was my question as well.
what was the question?
Was there any changes?
Oh, was there any changes?
No.
No. Councillor Hancock.
Just wondering about the timing of this policy for in the future. Like, is it normally come now, or is it normally it's not wrapped up within our the budget documents and that sort of stuff? Like, is it, I'm just wondering about the timing of this
Yeah.
policy.
So originally it was a whole new policy last year, and so when we got it to council it was towards the end of the year, and at that time it got put to a review at 1 year, so that's why it's sort of ended up back at this time.
So is it working all right?
Yeah.
Do we have to, should we be annually reviewing this policy as part
No,
of our-
I've put in on this one next one to be 3 years.
Okay.
Do we charge interest on our Sundry debt?
No.
Have we got an issue with outstanding accounts?
Oh, there's always going to be some issues, but I think mostly we have a pretty good outcome. Our main ones that we have trouble with are ones that go into liquidation, but there's not much you can do there.
With this document, when we say we're going to, well, it doesn't say in the resolution actually that we're going to do it in 3 years.
It's in the policy.
It's actually in the policy, so that'll be fine. Does it mean that it's going to be this date in 3 years? I'm just trying to work out whether, we need to tidy that up. Like, should it be when we're doing our budget stuff, or it doesn't really matter?
I guess that's a question, on whether what you would prefer. For us, it doesn't really matter, but if you prefer it when all the budgets are going, that's...
I don't know.
I think it's probably better after you send out rate notices at some stage. Then you've got an idea of how your debt structure is travelling.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
We can bring it back any time you like, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can, that's right.
Yeah. I'm happy to move.
Councillor Brompton.
I move that Council 1 adopt the Sundry debt recovery policy as presented. 2, rescind all previous Sundry debt recovery policies if relevant. 3, update Council's website accordingly.
I have a seconder. Councillor Davis, would you like to speak, councillor? Anybody like to speak? Let's go to the vote. All those in favour? 8-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
11.2, monthly financial report as of the 31st of October 2024. These months just keep rolling on in. Morning. Anyone got any questions? I've got one, if that's all right, Dee. We're in the business units under airports on page 43. It says Airbnb leases are now being finalised. An increase in other revenue is expected when executed. I've seen that statement for the last 3, I think. Is it any closer to, is it just we're waiting to be paid, or?
Thank you. We ask the manager of airport for an updated statement every month, and he has said that it's still relevant at this stage.
Right. So what do we do about that?
I'll take it when I notice there.
Yeah, it's just that the same thing comes up all the time, so if it's been done and they're supposed to be paying, I just don't know why I haven't seen that. And I have another question then on Macquarie. 31% of revenue is currently on track, contracted to assist with supply, and these costs will be spread over the next 5 to 6 months. So have we engaged a contractor yet? Do you know, Rob? On page 43?
No, I don't.
Just go to the bottom.
I'll just check that one for you. We did actually do the campaign one there just recently, but I'll just see if that's the one that's relating to. You don't know if that's the one we did the.
No,
Okay,
sorry, Rob,
No.
I'd have to check with the...
And then on page 45, when we go under major projects, the ones that are completed, do we just keep putting them forward all the time, or once they're completed, do we just get them out of the report? Like, it's the same ones all the time. Is there a reason why we just see them because it's all this one financial year, or? Yeah.
Yeah, that would be why, but if you think it'd be more meaningful just to have the current ones and
Yeah.
remove the
Well,
ones
if
that
they're
have been
completed.
completed.
I mean, I just don't know how many times you have to see that. Like,
And saying that through the chair, it'd be something that we would be presenting. We're looking to present in the quarterly reports anyway with a broader, this is all the projects that have been completed and statuses as well as
Yeah.
part of that. So definitely, I think probably worthwhile just doing what the current monthly ones are, and we'll do
Yeah.
the summary each quarter then.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, that quarry one, we did actually award that tender. That was that Glendon tender we awarded.
Oh, yeah, okay, yep.
2 meetings ago, but they actually are on site, so they're beginning the campaign crush. They're actually mobilising on site at the moment, so. But that is the tender we awarded a couple of
Okay,
meetings ago.
thank you. Now I'm on page 47, Capital Works grants, 2024-25 grant budget. So those figures in there are the grants that we have received. Is that correct?
Yes, yep, that is correct. The budgeted grants are the ones
Yeah.
that council has.
So the
received.
money is there, it's just if it's a zero, we haven't spent it yet, we haven't realised it yet?
That's not how I read
No,
it.
it's
You
the
read it,
budget.
that's what I'm asking.
No, it's the received, the column where it says, that the budgeted amount is what is expected to be received. When it's in the received column, that's when council has actually received the cash or otherwise recognised it out of our liability.
Yeah, okay. So take the first one, for example, the 49,880. So the work is in progress and we don't actually, that we have that grant, well, we'll be getting that grant money, or do we have that grant money? Or we only get it once the project is finished?
We would have to meet the milestones as part of the funding arrangements,
Yeah.
and once we submit the progress payments, then we receive the money.
Yeah, bit by bit?
Yes.
Yep, okay.
While we're on that, can I ask a question too? With the ones that say the next two lines in progress, 80% funding received in 23-24 budget amendment required, is that we're not going to get anything this year, or we're going to get 20% of that, or how is that?
Canberra's that flood gauge one.
Flood gauge ones? I do remember us having a discussion about the flood gauges one other time, but I just can't recall.
That's got, is this, no, this is not the one that got anything to do with Merley, is it?
Bungle Creek flood warning sign.
Through the chair, sorry, councillor, what page were you referring to there?
47.
47?
The flood gauge, I just asked the question where it says 80% funding received in 2023-24 and budget amendment required. So what are we actually getting? Have we got what we've spent? How is that being reconciled or whatever?
The short answer is I'll have to check exactly how that'll be managed through the financial reporting process, but I think that's just flagging that, and it sort of talks to the point previously. It's every funding project is slightly different. Some there's a really big advance payment. Some you don't get paid until you progress. So each one's slightly different depending on what the funding partner agrees. In terms of this one, flood damage for this, there's a large payment made up front. I'll just have to check with Cindy and Dee, but it's sort of recognising that money was definitely paid in 23-24. The signs are all manufactured. They'll probably be installed just before Christmas or just after, but it was just more flagging that, technically that would be considered constrained cash because the payment's sitting in there already, and that. But we will just make a note of that, and just.
Just ask then, is the 45,000 the 20% less that's left, or is it 45,000 is the whole 100% of the funding?
This project is 100% funded, so it in this instance.
But the 45,000, if 80% of funding's been received, is that the 45,000? Is that the 20%?
No, so that's the full total project.
Full total,
yeah. So essentially, not real quick with math, but it'll be something like we're being paid 40,000 or somewhere around that number until we install the sign, send the photos through to the funder. They'll then pay us the final 20%. But yeah, that's the total grant budget.
Councillor Davis.
I just wanted to ask a question around, I'm on page 54 with all the business units. Last month, 4 out of 7 of our business units, the materials and services were over budget. This time it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of our business units are over budget in materials and services. taken on notice last council meeting when this came. Do we have any further information?
Which one, sorry, councillor?
Gas, saleyard, sewage, quarry, waste, water.
Just
Page
on the
54
Page
onwards.
54.
54. Yeah, I'll have to go through and have a talk to the officers, council, and
I just
Go
think,
back,
yeah,
yeah, we-
I just think it's growing and the trend's growing up. So if that can be looked at, that would be
yeah, I
great.
mean, I had to go back and look at, as we talked about, some of it could be like, we talked about prepayments there, some of it you do incur the costs earlier in the year, and then obviously with insurances and registration and plant, that sort of stuff too, so, you know, it doesn't go evenly 25%, 25%, 25 over your quarters, some of it is prepayment, so I'd have to go back and have a look at some of them there, but it could be, you know, insurance, registrations, some of those things might be prepayments,
Yep,
which
thank you if you
pushes
can
it
look
through,
at it.
so.
Councillor Davis?
Item,
Oh, sorry, Vincent, I'm looking at that one.
who's going? You go.
I'm on page 43 with the airports again. The materials and services are under budget due to a $100,000 one-off precinct plan not yet started. First payment due in October. Am I reading that right to start with?
What page are you on, councillor?
43.
Airports.
Yeah, that's right.
Sorry, councillor, what was your question?
Well, it's just making sure I was reading it right, that the first payment should have been paid in October, which is the month we're looking at. Because when you look at the materials and services in airport, they're only rounded like $40,000 under budget.
Yeah, so that precinct plan, we've got it's the first meeting tomorrow morning, I think, actually, at the airport there, so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I was
it's
just
started.
wondering, so that either a payment has been made, because it's got the first payment due in October 2024.
Through the chair, it's something we'd have to ask the manager of the airport, CEO Rob, because Daniel provides the comments for the report.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty sure it's this week, though, it's, got that airport precinct planning workshop, so. It is only just commencing this month, so. yeah.
They're usually in here, aren't they? The managers are not here
Well-
today?
Well, they're not, but that's something that I was going to just ask CEO, like for these business units, the sale yards, the
Yeah.
airport and the quarry,
Yeah, we've
I
got
wonder
them
with our monthly reports, if they could
Yeah,
be here and maybe present them?
Sorry?
We got next door, Cam, do you want to just poke your head out and grab the team?
Oh,
Say it's there, I think. Just want to lay it on the table to the, we've got plenty of
what
time.
is that?
Oh, is there,
Yeah.
we can go through the questions, though.
Councillor Flynn had a question.
Councillor Flynn?
Probably not as part of this report, but just noticing the works that are being undertaken at the moment and the works that are being completed. Where are we at with the car park at Colts Oval or that area? Because of recent times in the rain, it's an absolute quagmire down
I
there.
think we were waiting for DMAC to finish the car park they're doing before they go out there,
Yeah, that was the thing. I
pretty sure.
checked with the team, they come back in for a commencement date, but they were just finishing that other project, and that was the next one they were moving on to, so.
Yep.
Cam, we got just that car park area up there at the cricket club there, that Colts one there with DMAC there, they got a ETA start on that.
Should be starting in this month, December. So we got to start from the funding point of view by the end of the end of the calendar year. So we've just last week received Main Roads approval, got all the road corridor permits approved for main roads now. So I don't expect a huge amount of work, to be quite honest, before Christmas, because it would be crazy to open up too much subgrade, say, before Christmas. But there definitely will be actions done there before, whether it's just some initial site prep and that. But practically, their priority will be to fairly well hook into it after Christmas there. So
More rain this weekend too, what's gonna,
yeah, we've talked to the funder that we'd need to make a start before Christmas. Our big hurdle was the TMR approval, but that's now been ticked off. So
Councillor
Just
Vincent.
one quick one, through Rob to Cam. Can you just remind me, in the grants one, we had the open spaces for Roma Surattan in June. What was the project for Roma?
so that was the cycleway feasibility to Campbell Park.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Thank
and that.
you.
So,
Yep.
yeah, I've assigned a project officer to that. Lucy's going to do them projects, and they'll start in the new year, and that to get underway on Guida Laycock, Surat Rec Grounds, and the cycleway feasibility to Campbell Park.
The Charles Nason, was it Charles Nason? Or the rec ground?
The rec ground.
Yeah, rec ground, Charles.
No,
yeah.
it's actually the recreation
Recreation area.
grounds, which
Okay.
brings in that park. yeah.
Okay.
Okay, we didn't have the airport manager here,
No, sorry, Mayor. Yep. Or Quarry.
but to take that on notice.
So Councillor Vincent, they say Friday 29th at Ram Airport Precinct Planning is scheduled with all the stakeholders there to commence that project.
Okay.
there.
I was just concerned about the difference if it was supposed to be $100,000 under, where it's only really 40.
And it's also saying another 25,000 yet to be spent on contract staff, so that's all under materials and, so it doesn't relate to what is showing in the figures. The
Yeah, it sort
commentary
of,
doesn't
the
relate
commentary is
to
not
the-
reflecting,
Reflect.
yeah.
Yeah,
the figures.
all right, you happy to take that on notice? Yep. You're happy to. All right, anyone have any more questions?
Did you have a sale yards question, Amber, or is it, because I noticed our
Oh,
sale
it
yards
was just a
manager
full
here.
business unit question.
Just
Any-
just for the chair, I'm just wondering if, because I guess being for a couple of these now with the finance reports now, and it is a lot of questions coming through and we're taking on notice, so obviously taking on board that we probably need to make sure that the business unit managers are available for those additional questions, and potentially a lot of the projects ones. So at the moment, organising it's the finance team, so probably for future reviews, make sure we have maybe Cindy and those business units here to be able to answer those questions for the next ones, just to.
I think that'd be good,
Yeah.
Ruben, yeah.
I think it'd be really great if our, especially those business units managers can like present their budget to us and just tell us if there's any issues or how they're going, a bit like what we learned
Yeah.
yesterday, like
Yeah.
just give us,
Yeah,
tell
because
us
even
about
though
it.
Dee's sitting there, like, it's not her report, to be honest, yeah.
No, for sure. No, we'll make sure that that they're there for the next one. Make that a bit
Yeah.
more smoother. Yep.
All right,
That'd be great.
thank you, Ruben.
Yeah, and I think that's that commentary on that airport one. It's saying it's in the budget there's at 32, but it's I think it's just giving some commentary around that, just giving a bit of heads up to council that there's some major expenditure be happening there too, which will actually push it back up again too. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, I've actually got one, Dan's in, would you just on the sale yards, and I'm on page 55. The materials and services there are really over budget, by about 150,000.
On the forecasted one,
It says month actual against month budget.
so the month actual versus month budget, I believe the budget has been done in a line, total budget divided by 12. And the actual, so, because we've had higher throughput so far than what we were expecting to this point in time, the contract, as in the movement contractors, their bill has gone up because it's tied to a per animal price, so.
So they're there longer, is that what you're saying? The
Yeah,
wages?
yeah, so their bill for a larger, so for a smaller sale, their bill is smaller.
Yeah.
For a larger sale, their bill is larger.
I was
Shouldn't our
wondering,
sorry.
also, I was just wondering if, and I don't know how you would capture that, but with your other revenue, fees and charges, that's on track, but that's over the 33%. So maybe that commentary around there can be like due to higher input through of numbers.
Yep.
So it does balance it out, and then that's easy to read and why.
Yeah.
Because, sorry, so Joe, you did say that I had a question, and that was my question. It was 45%, where it was the target's 33, but then if you've got that higher out,
Yes,
cattle
yeah.
numbers, that's justified. So that's good to know.
We probably need to get a bit more accurate of a forecasting per month from previous years, as in, but then that's only a forecast because if it rains or market conditions. I will flag also, we do have a reasonable amount of depreciation, overheads and our Christmas maintenance period that our income sort of dries right up, but our expenses accelerate a bit. So that's why we sort of haven't made any amendments to the current budget forecast until we get through that period.
Yeah. But I think it's a good idea, Ruben said, if we just get them all in and just present, and that way they'll answer the questions before they're asked, really.
Yep.
I think it's really good. And also, if there's any issues, you can flag it with us, like so we know. I think it's a great thing.
Yeah.
Just with that, when you're saying that your materials and services is higher because of, you know, the amount of cattle that are going through the yards, but wouldn't our income be higher as well?
It is, yes.
Yeah, and that's what Amber was just talking about.
Yes, yeah. So the throughput has been higher on average, but just because it's been high for to the months up until October doesn't mean that it's going to be guaranteed for the next 6 months. So the throughput could go down or it could go up. It's a sort of a calculated estimate.
Yeah. The revenue for the sale yards is 5.5 predicted for the year, and then total expenses 5.1, and you're sitting at 50% for your revenue at the moment and 40% as your expense. So.
Yeah. All right. Do we?
Can I just ask a general question? I can't remember what we landed on when we talked about it with that percent of budget just being applied, because you said there's somewhere else where you actually put your forecasts in that are more. Are we going to be able to report on that in these, or was that too hard? That rather than just dividing it by the number of months, are we going to report on the trends, or did we discuss that was too hard in these ones?
We didn't. We're going to take it away and have a look at it there. I think the question was obviously when we do our quarterly reports, because they said we talk about prepayments and things like that. It's not always a clean 25% at the first quarter and 50% at the halfway mark and 75%. And the question was asked: can you actually with your prepayments, can you factor that in? So at your first quarter, you should probably be sitting at 30% or 35%. So
but shouldn't it be the same for the monthly, or are you, when you know where things are coming in, is that able to be done? I mean, are you?
We haven't before, and to be honest with the council, I was just waiting for Brett to start next month and have a chat to him about his thoughts about reporting it there. But traditionally, 30 years in local government's always been by the as per the divided by 12 sort of thing. But I take your point because it is misleading, because you're up front there, you're paying all your insurance, your plan.
Generally come in your registrations, even if you took them only into account, those ones that would make a big difference.
Yeah, through the chair, some managers do budget based on prior year actuals and when they're coming through, but some managers still do the divide by 12. So I think it's an education also on how our managers enter in their budgets and how they're presented, because the ability is in there in our budgeting system to do it.
The system is there. It's
just an education of our
Particularly with the parks and gardens guys, they know during that sort of spring and summer months there too, their slashing and mowing costs are going to be a lot higher than it is during winter.
I definitely, through the chair, I think that's definitely, Councillor Brunton brought up probably a good point, just definitely in our next, at least by next financial year when it's coming through, that we should be looking to make that as a bit of a guideline, that areas will need to be budgeting as some sort of forecast, if not previous actuals, but a forecast rather than divided by 12. The only place that's probably appropriate is payroll. Outside of that, most will be, and it's very easy in the current systems that we have to do that, as these highlight, it's that education piece, and that's where like Fleur and Brett will come in to help educate around that. So.
All right, Councillor Hancock.
Through you, Madam Mayor. Is this your last meeting as reporting the financial, Ruben?
I believe so.
Yeah. So I just wanted to, if it's appropriate, through the CEO, just acknowledge what a great job you and your team have done. Thank you for all you've done in your time in this position, and I know you're not going anywhere, but I just want to acknowledge the level of reporting that and the ease that we're trying to get to and being able to read them. I just want to acknowledge all your effort in leading the team in that. So thanks very much.
Thank you.
The financials council too, with the corporate governance side of the stuff that Driven and his team have done there too, with the annual reporting and the quarterly plans, and
massive time to jump into reacting, relieving, and you've done a fantastic job. And I know we've put you under a bit of pressure because we haven't just had status quo. We've been pushing the barrow, and really appreciate how responsive you and your team have been.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
A good team behind me, so.
So how easy is the next part going to be? So you've done all the hard yards, so thank you very much, Ruben, and your team. Yeah. All right, can I have a mover? Yeah, thank you.
Can I move that council receive and note the monthly financial report for the period ended 31st of October 2024?
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Hancock. Anyone like to speak? Would you like to speak?
I think probably enough's been said in the
All right.
conversation. Yes.
All those in favour? 8-0. Thank you very much, everybody. (14.1) Development application, material change of use, extractive industry, hard rock quarry and gravel pit up to 100,000 tonne per annum on 450 Nyla Road, Bethella, reference 2024/21248. Do I have any questions? Councillor Hancock.
Through you, Madam Mayor. Hi, Kate here. Just want to make sure, the operating times, are they the same times as we operate or other quarries are operating in the area? Is that a standard time?
Yeah, I believe from memory, they are consistent with the other quarries that were approved end of last year.
Can you tell me, can someone see if they can see where the operating times are in this?
Operating,
Page 60.
Oh, yep, as I said, I saw it, yeah. So that is just standard throughout, yeah. And no activities occur on Sunday. Yep, thank you.
Oh, I'm going to sneeze, but I didn't. Anyone else got any questions?
I'm happy to move.
Happy to move. Thank you.
I'd like to move that the development application for material change of use for the extractive industry, hard rock quarry and gravel pit up to 100,000 tonnes per annum, located at 450 Neela Road, Bethella, Queensland 44555, described as Lot 2 RP 835106, Lot 7 SP 206903, Lot 8 WV 1578, Lot 10 WV 406, Lot 20 SP 253620, Lot 25 WV 1108 and Lot 30 WV 572 be approved subject to the listed conditions and general advice.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Vincent, would you like to speak, councillor? Anybody like to speak? Let's go to the vote. All those in favour? 8-0. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
We up to the lake? L1, donation of wedge-tail eagle sculpture. Do I have a mover or anyone like questions?
Yeah, just wanted to ask a question.
Yeah, councillor Vincent?
Has any work as to date occurred around the cost of installation, working with grants and anything like that? Has any of that work already occurred? Working with the group?
Councillors asked in terms of the funding of it, like
Yeah,
what
the
cost is
funding
and
of it.
then
Has any
funding.
work or any conversations been had around the cost, getting grants or how they may have funded it prior to it coming back to council?
Yeah, thank you. Through the chair, to date there hasn't been any conversation around grants or whatnot. Certainly this conversation was brought about by the group struggling to secure insurance, and obviously the final location consultation still being undertaken. So that to date we haven't investigated, I guess, potential sources of funding to fund and install.
Councillor Hancock?
So just looking back at the original resolution, we've already put $5,000 to the project to support the purchase or and or installation of the sculpture. Have we used all that $5,000?
Yes, certainly. And through the chair, the $5,000 was used by the group to purchase the sculpture initially.
Can you remember why we put in here purchase all installation? Because we weren't quite sure of the amount because we thought there might have been somebody something.
Yeah, certainly. At the time, the discussion was very much around, knowing that these things cost money to install, and that can balloon out to whatever figures. So at the time, the discussion very much focused around setting a cap on the spend. The other reason that the wording was chosen that way was at the time the exact sculpture hadn't been selected, so they were unsure just where they would fit in that space. Yep.
Councillor Davis.
Thank you. I'm just wondering what conversations, if any, have been had with the group that has actually purchased the sculpture. I believe there were individual donors as well. Was there any information? Are they to be acknowledged? What is council getting in for if this resolution is successful today?
Right. Yep. Through you, Madam Mayor. There were individual donors that were going to provide funding, but with all the Santos funding and the council funding, the group was able to use that funding rather than accept individual donations, I believe. And
certainly the request that council's presented with today came through the meeting process where it was tabled for vote, and they voted to go this way.
Are we 100% sure, because I know the purchase price exceeds, there is no individual donors? The partners here are Maranoa Regional Council, the Santos Grant and the Indune Arts?
Yeah, I actually do believe there is individual donors. I would confirm that. I would like that confirmed.
There is, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
And certainly there is still some requirements for the Santos funding to be acquitted around an unveiling event and that sort of thing.
I move a motion that this lays on the table for information around donors, what's the expectation, the preliminary installation and what council may be up for. I believe it would be around $15,000 from stuff I've been involved in. I'd like to move that it lays on the table for further information to come via briefing.
All those in favour, laying it on the table? Wrong.
Can I? Yeah, I'll speak. I'll have to speak now. That I'm concerned that I was at a meeting where this was discussed in terms of it is not insured at the moment. The committee could not get insurance. They tried everywhere to get insurance. So the longer we leave it, there's a huge insurance risk for this thing. And this is not committing us to installing it. It's committing us to owning it, so it's covered by insurance. That's what I understand. We can come back through the cost of installation, etc., and look for grants and things. But I think the pressing matter is having this thing insured that's worth a lot of money sitting in the depot up there, because they had a huge issue with that.
I'm happy to move something, but I just want to see where Amber's motion's at though first.
Well, she's asked
first.
to lay it on the table, so it's got to go to that vote.
It's got to go to that vote. Yeah.
I think the information here, though, it's not at in June, correct? It's in Roma.
Yeah.
In the council compound where millions of machinery is also kept. Yep.
Yeah.
So we've got to put the motion, and then if it gets up.
Yeah. So all those in favour?
Can I have I understand the motion's going to be put, but I want to ask a question about the motion because I can't
Laying it
vote.
on the table? Yes.
Well, my question is, CEO, because it is in our possession, is it covered by insurance? So if we have a contractor's vehicle in our possession and something happens to it, does it get covered by insurance if something happens to it in our depot?
Okay, look at insurance. It's I know it is in our depot. They asked it. We were asked probably about a month and a half ago whether it could actually be moved to our depot because they were worried about it sitting in its current location. At the moment, it's not our asset, so it's not on our insurance. If if our grader backed over the top of it, that's it's like any third party damage we do, so it would be covered by that. But in terms of it's not our asset at the moment, so if it's sort of stolen, then it's not in our insurance. But if it's damaged by council staff, in terms of our day-to-day operations, it's covered as part of our insurance. Yeah.
And is it locked up in a shed, like storms can't hurt it, is it secure? The location now, is it secure?
Yeah, it's located under the big awning that comes off the stores building where we have barbecues and those sorts of events there at the moment. We're just investigating whether we move it down to the back compound, which is another lockable compound, but probably, a bit further out of sight. But anyway, it'll sort of just depend on which way council elect to go and the pace this process moves with.
And I know that there's a motion on the table, Councillor Davis, I understand that, but just one more question. I understand what you're saying, Councillor Brumpton. My only concern, without having all the information, otherwise I'm happy to support what you're saying, is the fact that the moment we accept this donation, it becomes ours, and there will be, and the community will expect us to do something with it and to install it. And at the moment, we don't do that without having any costs, knowing the costs. So that's my only concern about accepting this right now. Can we lay it on the table in this meeting and maybe have some indicative costs come back?
We've put some indicative costs there for what the footings we've done before, and Councillor Davis is she's pretty close to the mark there too, based on what we've actually had that one at Mitchell a few years ago for that bull. The footings on that, we also did that bell located up near the fire station there too, and with the engineered concrete plinth, it's the estimate is $15,000.
I suppose. I'm not going to get into it. I've got it for
Councillor Davis, you're asking to lay it on the table.
Yeah. I'm happy to move it to later in the meeting, but I do want the information back from the group as to...
And what information do you want?
The individual donors that the group has given the group. What is their expectation? Is there any expectation towards acknowledgement or anything that we should be aware of before making this decision?
So just so clear, Councillor, so just basically, we go back to the group and say, look, we acknowledge you've written to us and asked us to accept it. However, council has realised there was private individuals that donated to that. Is the group, can the group confirm, is there any expectations from those people that donated there about
because we've just heard there's not, but there is. So we want to confirm if there is individuals.
Can I interrupt here? I think we're treading on pretty thin ground if we do that, because what happens if some of their donations by public entities have been given as commercial in confidence? I don't think we have the right to ask those details. We may have the right to ask if there is public donations, but we don't have the right, I do believe, to actually find out what public donations were.
I'm not talking about.
No, I took the question to be just to go back and confirm that I clarify. I took it to be that we just go back and confirm with the group that those people that donated are happy for it to become council property.
Become our property.
Yeah.
If they need acknowledgement, if there was original
if there's any
conversations around
expectation from them.
Because they might have only donated because it was for Injune.
Can I just ask one more question? Once it's installed, say they pay to install it as they were going to, doesn't it become council asset anyway?
It's on our land, it's ours.
Yeah, and the issue, my understanding again is from talking to people is that's fine. At the moment, they can't transport it. There's no insurance for transport. And the only way they could get insurance was if it was stationary somewhere already. So the reason this all is my understanding, it all started would be fine in some respects. But yeah, if an asset is installed on our land, does it automatically become ours? But still, I think they wanted to give it to us now because of that whole insurance issue of getting it.
Not necessarily, councillor. We've got a lot of reserves there where we lease people out with pony clubs and things like that, where it's the assets aren't ours there too. But it does open up a can of worms. You're right. So.
Yeah, if it's not ours on our land, yes.
So we can if the motion is laid on the table later in the meeting for us to go and just to confirm that any of those third parties are okay with the donation, and if they want their name on a plaque, whatever it be, we have got some, without getting engineer design and costs and quotes there too, we've got pretty good idea of the budget for it. We've got the work order number there too where it could be assigned to. So we've got that information for council to make a decision. So if it's just the confirmation of those third parties, we can go back to the group and just ask the question.
Councillor Davis, you're right?
Yep, good with
Okay,
that.
so asking if we will lay it on the table till later in the meeting to get the answers that Councillor Davis wants. All those in favour? 8-0. Thank you. Have we got any conflict of interest before we go into closed? Councillor Seawright.
I'd like to declare a conflict of interest on item C2, 2025 Australia Day Awards. Declaring council is myself. Person of interest is myself. In particular of interest, I have nominated residents for different categories of the Australia Day Awards. It is a declarable conflict of interest, and I will leave the room while the matter is discussed and voted on.
Thank you. Councillor Burkett.
I've got a conflict on item C2, 2025 Australia Day Awards, declaring council as myself. Person of the interest related parties, my father, Gary Burkett. Particulars of interest, Gary is the executive committee member of the Bringa Heritage Group and not mentioned in this report. Type of conflicts declarable, and the action I will leave the room while the matter is discussed and voted on.
They're the only two. Would someone like to move that we go into closed? Councillor Hancock.
In accordance with the provisions of section 254J3 of the Local Government Regulation 2012, a council resolved to close the meeting to the public at 11... No, what are we?
9:54.
Thank you. To discuss confidential items that its council has considered is necessary to close the meeting. In accordance with section 254J5 of the Local Government Regulation 2012, the following table provides the matters to be discussed and an overview of what is to be discussed while the meeting is closed.
Second, Councillor.
I know I've got to
sorry.
read it.
Yeah, sorry.
Janice, would you mind
Sorry.
scrolling down, please? Thank
Sorry.
you. Agenda item C1, existing fleet replacement recommendation to procure one heavy rigid 6x4 tipper. C2, 2025 Australia Day Awards. LC1, expression of interest, commercial sale of manure. LC2, tender 25009, wholesale purchase of quarry products, Brewery South Road Network. And that's all.
Okay, second, Councillor Seawright. All those in favour? 8-0.
I was thinking the same
You want
thing.
to move the motion?
WD-40 the door.
We're in open, Mayor.
We're in open. Yes, we are. So we're going to go on to C1. Existing fleet replacement recommendation to procure one heavy rigid 6x4 tipper. Do I have a mover? Councillor Seawright.
I move that Council 1 select Daimler Truck Australia Pacific Proprietary Limited as a recommended supplier for the supply and delivery of one heavy rigid tipper 6x4 at $326,920, including GST, excluding registration and CTP insurance. 2, authorise the Chief Executive Officer or delegate to enter into final negotiations with Daimler Truck Australia Pacific Proprietary Limited and raise purchase order if the final terms are acceptable.
I have a second, Councillor Burkett. Would you like to speak, Councillor?
Just to say that it is just replacing new for old. It's obviously going through our fleet and sort of marking out obviously a couple of, well, in this case, a vehicle that is defective and not actually being used and replacing with something that can be utilised correctly. And this item is actually covered by our budget for plant and fleet replacement in this current financial year.
Anyone else like to speak? Let's go to the vote. All those in favour? 8-0.
So, Janice, who was the seconder on that one?
Me.
Councillor Burkett. Thank you, Councillor Burkett.
C2, 2025 Australia Day Awards. I have two leaving the room, Councillor Burkett and Councillor Seawright. Councillor Vincent, if you'd like to move.
I'd like to move that council approve the list of nominees as circulated on the 26th of November 2024 for the 2025 Australia Day Awards for the Maranoa region.
I have a seconder, Councillor Hancock. Would you like to speak, Councillor?
I'd just like to thank the people that took the time to nominate people around our region for an Australia Day Award. We've had some really strong applications and it was really great to see. Thank you.
Anyone else like to speak? Let's go to the vote. All those in favour? 6-0. Haven't got my numbers right today so far. Going on to LC1, expressions of interest, commercial sale of manure. Councillor Davis.
I move that Council 1 conducts
Take the word council out
Sorry,
of the
Jenna,
one.
sorry.
Oh, sorry, get rid of council.
Yep, you're right.
conducts a public expression of interest for the commercial removal and sale of existing manure stockpile at the Roma sale yards. 2, results of EOI be brought back to an upcoming meeting for council consideration.
Have a seconder. Councillor Brompton, would you like to speak, councillor?
I would just like to thank the General Manager of the sale yards for bringing this option to council. And I hope for a successful result and look forward to it coming back to a meeting.
Yeah, I agree. Anybody else like to speak? Let's go to the vote. All those in favour? 8-0. LC2, tender 250099, wholesale purchase of quarry products for Roo South Road Network. Councillor Hancock.
I move that Council 1 select Colin Douglas and Amanda Lee Stewart as a successful tenderer for tender 25009, wholesale purchase of quarry products, Roo South Road Network. 2, authorise the Chief Executive Officer or Delegate to A, enter into final negotiations with Colin Douglas and Amanda Lee Stewart up to a contract value of $812,650 ex GST, and B, execute the contract if the final terms are acceptable.
Seconder, Councillor Brompton. Would you like to speak, councillor?
No, thank you.
Would anyone like to speak? Let's go to the vote. All those in favour? 8-0. Well, we might break early for morning tea.
Oh, we got one to come back.
Yeah, because we've got one to come back. We better give them a bit of time to do that. So I'll just adjourn the meeting and we'll be back as soon as we find out if we can come back. Thank you very much.
She's on the phone.
Thank you.
Righto. Okay, we'll reopen the meeting at 10:58. And we've got back on L1 that we laid on the table, donation of wedge-tailed eagle sculpture. Do I have a mover or any questions? Councillor Vincent, do you have a
I'm happy to move, but if Councillor
Do you have a
Davis has
question?
Yeah, the reason we laid it on the table. How
Thank you, through the chair. So we spoke to the president of Ingene Arts and we're advised there was, about $4,000 in private donations received. As part of the acknowledgement process, that the intention of Ingene Arts was to acknowledge those donors in a more general sense, and not specifically listing them, but having that acknowledgement of their contribution to the bringing that sculpture to Ingene.
But that's the only expectation, an acknowledgement.
Yeah, certainly from the president, the intention was to, that those donations were given to the group to secure the sculpture, and they thought it would be appropriate to acknowledge them, and certainly didn't see the gifting, or should council elect to take ownership of the sculpture, they didn't see that as an issue from that, given the sculpture's proposed location will be in Ingene still.
Councillor Hancock?
Did you have a follow-up question? Because I'm going to go on a different tangent.
I just asked with the installation, was that correct? What price are we looking at?
Yeah, so there's two parts, sorry, councillor, to the question there. It very much is on what level of installation council would like to see. If we were to adopt an engineered plinth with some lighting, the estimate is at $15,000. There is an alternate resolution on the screen there, which suggests that council be presented with a future report, which will bring those costings back into the chamber for consideration.
Do you have anything else, Councillor Davis?
No.
Councillor Hancock.
Just a question through the chair. Undertake community and staff consultation. We have had consultation already. We're going back for further consultation? I understand it's about the location now within the location that the community has suggested.
Yes.
But when we did the consultation to start with, was there any feedback from the community about where they want it within that area?
No, so the initial consultation there was just to sort of secure a general area. There was 4 or 5 options, that covered the whole breadth of town. Now the results from that consultation, which I shared a little while ago, very much lean to the main precinct there as a preferred location. Now it's about going back to the community and saying, well, here's 4 or 5 options. Where does everyone sort of feel? Ultimately, it'll be a decision for council on where they choose to, that location to be. And this consultation is just trying to gather as much of that information in to present it to council for consideration.
Director Lee, not that I'm not against consultation, I am, but sometimes I think we can, the community thinks that we can over-consultate. It's like, haven't we already answered this question? Haven't we already? Do you think, knowing your community, that there will be varying opinions on where that will be located in that area, that you wouldn't be confident enough to put a recommendation to us where it should go now, with you knowing your community?
So I would be confident to put a recommendation based on what I would think would be best operationally and sort of from the layout of the site. I generally would not speak for the community without first asking them. But I think we've seen through the first round of consultation, it's generated a lot of different sort of feelings within the community and different opinions. And, with any consultation, there's people that feel they aren't quite heard. So I think this second round will allow us to just sort of wrap that up nicely and make sure everyone's being given adequate opportunity and should allow council, a really solid platform of information to make their decision.
Okay, thank you.
So are we saying that if we go with this, it's still going to stay at the depot until further report comes to council?
Correct, yeah. Council will be presented with a report before anything triggers from them.
So you'll leave it where it is? Well, except you might move it down
Yeah,
somewhere.
correct.
Yeah, okay. Anybody else got any other questions? Councillor Vincent, would you like to move anything?
I would like to move that Council 1 accept the donation of the sculpture known as the Wedge-tailed Eagle by artist Stuart Taylor. 2, undertake community and staff consultation to establish the best location within the Injune multipurpose precinct. Be presented with a further report outlining preferred location, estimated cost of installation, funding opportunities and acknowledgement plaques.
Seconded by Councillor Brompton. Would you like to speak, Councillor?
Yes, I would like to speak. Injune Arts have purchased this eagle with the assistance of a few partners. Knowing the location that's going into, it would eventually have come into council's hands anyway, being located on council land. I really think it's important that group still continues to work with council to get funding for the placement of it, to assist to pay for that, because it is, we don't have budget for it at present. So I think it's important to continue to work with that group to seek that funding out.
Anyone else like to speak? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? 6-7-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Has anybody else got any other business? Okay, well, I'll close the meeting at 11:05 and thank you for your attendance.